circle where we elevate. Nikki, Kurt, and Angel set the record straight. Open conversations every day we relate. No negativity, just a positive state. Finding good vibes every story we share. Support each other, show we truly care. In this community, love is always there. Through the highs and lows, we're a team, we swear. In your circle we rise and fly. No drama, just love, we reach the sky. Support and shine, keep the vibe alive. In your circle, together we thrive. Open minds, open hearts, that's the way we roll. Cheering for each other, that's our ultimate goal. Embrace new ideas, let creativity unfold. In the circle, every story told is gold. Positivity reigns, we chase the light. Through the good, the bad, we keep it tight. No room for drama, keep the vision bright. In your circle, we're soaring to new heights.
Gray Rider Reptiles offers genetic shed testing on 30 different ball python morphs, including puzzle, sunset, and clown. Visit shedtesting.com for your shed testing needs and for fast, reliable service.
Happy Saturday, everybody, and welcome to In Your Circle with Angel Caro Reptiles. Someday I'm going to say it right the first time.
You get it right.
NS. If you're not following Angel on Instagram, you need to head over and follow him on Instagram. And if you're not following us, well, then that's just sad. And we hope that you start following us. We have our wonderful show sponsor, Gray Rider Reptiles, who has, I think, changed his name to Shed Testing, which makes sense because it's shedtesting.com. We're getting ready to send some sheds out this week, in fact.
Yep, we got 2 sheds coming your way, Charlie.
So, test those sheds and take all of the wonder out.
Because you already know the wackiness that's going on. I need to find out.
You should.
I'm waiting for him to
And then
shed. Once he
That's the hard part.
Feel that shit, but he's like holding on.
We have one that we're waiting on her to shed, which she's huge now. We should have done her shed forever ago, from Bad Reptiles that Wayne knows very well.
Yeah,
We
it's
love her.
66% het G-stripe.
So.
And up until now, we haven't had any G-stripe really in the collection to worry about, but we got a couple of het G-stripes. So
now we want to know.
Now we might as well get her tested because it's actually going to be an important thing going forward. In
fact, we just finished ultrasounding her before we came in here, and she's finally starting to build follicles. She is so pretty. Her head is like purple.
Yeah, she's like a light green purple color.
She's so pretty. Anyway, this show is going to be about reptile expos and the goods and the bads about them. And we have some wonderful guests today that we need to introduce themselves. Should we bring them out?
Yes, please.
Okay, I'll bring them out.
Let's do it.
Here's our wonderful guests.
Welcome, you guys.
Hello, everybody.
Oh,
Let's have Wayne go first. Give us a little synopsis for us.
Who are you, Wayne?
I am Wayne. I'm Cue Ball Morphs. We are pretty much a family breeding or, hobbyist, whatever you want to call us, with ball pythons. And we've been doing it together for about 6 to 7 years now.
Nice. And Melinda, tell us about you.
I'm Melinda with Cuddle Time Critters. I got my very first ball python in 2019 because my husband wanted a pied. I ended up picking up a banana spider. At the time, I didn't know about the wobble. The breeder didn't tell me about the wobble. I bred her once and moved her on because it was a shit show.
Yeah,
when it came to her clutches, what do they call it? Something about the mouth, shark mouth on most of them. One banana spider male and a few bananas. I kept 2 normal het clown females out of it, but I just sold them this year, so all of them are gone. They were just hets. Heifer Clown. So, but I'm going in my 5th season now, 2025. And I think I've got 10 clutches for this year.
Nice.
Perfect.
Right.
So,
So yeah, we all do expos, and we all dabble in online sales. I imagine you probably have a few more, Wayne, than what Angel and Nikki and I have.
Yeah.
Just because you probably have a little bit larger of a collection than we do.
Right. Yes. I do. I have right now. I'm sitting on approximately 800 animals, and so many more popping out of eggs. It's like insane right now. This is probably the biggest year I've ever had. And it, like she said, it can be overwhelming. I realistically had to hire a full-time employee, to take care of my rats pretty much, and then pretty much go through my snakes and clean them in water, because with all the babies I have coming and all that other stuff, me and my wife pretty much, feed them all and, sex them all and ID them all. And, it's a job now. So the expos are great.
How many are you in a year?
What was that, Angel?
How many expos are you doing a year?
I do about 8 right now.
Okay.
I do all the Pacific Northwest, and then I do a few, once in a while in California.
Yeah. So we're currently doing probably 4 consistently a year, but even then we don't have enough production yet to have a fully stocked table. And then of course Angel's table's always stocked. He's always got a nice run of stuff.
Yeah, he does.
He does.
Yeah, and then Melinda's has a little bit different geographic location. You're out in, what would you call that? Midwest
Midwest area, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we were talking.
And Melinda
about
does a lot more
backstage.
shows.
I do the Kansas City show. I do a Springfield, Missouri show, St. Louis show, Columbia, Missouri show. I do some Nebraska and I do some Iowa shows. So there's a lot of shows out here. I could do up to probably 26 to 32 shows a year if I wanted to.
So many.
This year is kind of slowed down for me because we were down to one vehicle for probably 4 or 5 months. So this year wasn't as busy, but I'm trying to get back out there. I currently have like 3 display cases that I'm putting up right now. And some of them is to show my most recent clutch because it's just full of bangers and I'm not even sure what's in it. I know what's in it, but I don't know if it's in that animal. So I'm just kind of guessing right now. So
Yeah, as we all start getting these multiple Kodam clutches, that it's going to be kind of a nightmare.
yeah,
Basically, the only thing we'll be able to guarantee is the heterozygous stuff and visual stuff.
This clutch has 7 Kodoms and clown and peptide is in it. So I ended up getting 4 clowns out of it, out of 7
nice.
animals. Some of them might even be world's first, but I have no idea because I can't find nothing out there like them.
Yeah, that's a good clutch. That's exciting. Congratulations.
It's a Barnhart Black Pastel Chocolate Mojave Heifer Clown to a OD Yellow Belly Fire Pied Heifer Clown.
All right. Nice looking clutch.
Yeah, luckily I got 4 clowns, so I only need to test 3 animals instead of having to test all 7.
So where do you want to start? You want to kind of talk about what an average show costs to go to? Obviously, your tables and size of your presentation will affect that. But
Yeah, and it's like
Yeah.
we were talking before. Melinda had mentioned some of the shows by you. Some that the tables aren't as expensive, because as a vendor, we have to pay to rent a spot and your table, and sometimes you're depending on what your inventory is like. You may need multiple tables. You have to have multiple people back there, which includes displays and all of these things, and the price of the table, is helpful if it's a lot lower, you know, and some places, depending on where the venue is, I don't know if that factors into the price of the table, but you had mentioned that some of those places, some places are a lot less expensive than others.
Like Show Me Snakes had their tables average in between where I'm located in between 55 and 60. If I get two tables, it's over $100. But if it's 4 hours away, that could be $100, $200 in gas getting there. That's not counting a hotel. If it's a weekend show, you got to count the hotel on top of that. Even your cheapest hotel will be will be can range up to 150 to $75 for just one night.
Hmm.
So it adds up fast.
And
And a
these
lot,
are
luckily for the shows that I do, a lot of them are just a one day. So I
okay.
fly out there. Well, not fly. I drive out there and drive back the same day. So
I was curious if these were like 2-day shows or 1-day shows.
it varies. Some of Show Me Snakes is a 2 day show, just depending on where it's located. I think they Springfield has a 2 day show, and I think St. Louis has a 2 day show, but all the rest of them are just 1 day shows.
And you said those tables are about $60 for a 2-day.
Uh, yeah, depending on if you get one or two tables. One table's about 55. It could range from $55 to $65 a table.
Wow, man, that was back in the day. For the whole weekend, you get a table for $50 for a whole weekend, with a
Yeah.
tablecloth and like
provided
get
lunch.
this, man. You get two
Yeah,
chairs.
Yeah,
lunch.
that don't happen anymore.
Two chairs.
Yeah,
I
up here it's drastically different. Pacific Northwest pricing.
It's
Yes.
Yeah.
way different. It's way different. You know.
Well,
And
we all know that I pretty much have a full island,
Yes.
Yeah.
and I'm also a sponsor for two different things, so mine's a little higher than most. So and then you, like you said, you add the hotel rooms and you add the food, you add the gas. I live pretty far away from most of them. And the only one that's really close is the newest one, which is in Albany, which is kind of in my backyard, which I love. But other than that, everything else is a drive for me. So for us to go out, it has to be a 2-day show. I cannot take the time or the effort to drive all that way, pack all my stuff, do just so much, because by the time you get up there, you get set up and all that, you're rushing around, you're already beat by the first day. And then, when you're done with that first day, you got to tear it all down, drive that drive. I mean, it's evil. I did it twice and I was like, I just can't do it. It just isn't feasible for me. Um, so the 2-day shows, I love. Yes. And as it, table prices is definitely different on from over where you're at to us. I'm not gonna lie there, but I don't really complain. You sell a couple snakes and stuff. It pays for everything. And my whole thing is about it is, if I can go there and I can break even and I get to hang out with my people and go see what they have and just network, whatever else you go out there to do, it's worth it for me, because it's not my job. If it was my job, it'd be different. I would have to seriously hustle, but it's not my job. So I love it, which helps me engage with the people more. Because I don't have to worry, oh, if I sell this snake, am I going to put any food on my table? So that's kind of
See,
where it
but
is for me.
that's where a lot of the difference is for a lot of people, because some people this is their job, some people it's just a hobby, some people this is something they want to be their job, and some people can't travel very far. So like these 1 day weekend shows, great for somebody who's got a smaller collection or
Right,
starting, or maybe they
right,
just need like a 1 day show that's local to like move some pet quality stuff and so on. And you got the vibe of that versus being to this 2 day show and bringing your army of inventory, to move and so on, because that's how it feels. Because you on that first might move a shit ton of animals, and then here, the next day comes and you're like, damn, brought more, you know. And whether that happens or not, I like not to feel that way. I also love to feel that way too, because then that's nice. That means I sold a bunch of shit. There's that thing of like, you do differently, who
right.
you are as a breeder keeper, what that show is to you, how far it is, and what how what you're all of that stuff. Everybody's different.
Right.
Everybody's different. That's why I think it's good to have both kinds of shows.
Oh yeah, I
I think
don't I don't disagree in that at all. I honestly don't. I'm just saying for my personal, for me, that's it's perfect. For like our buddy Stone Age and Justin, him he does them all, because he has that smaller stuff to where it's not a big deal and that much for him to move out and just make some money and enjoy it. And you know sometimes I wish I was there back to that, but at the same time, I'm like, man, if I was right there, I can't do the versatility that I can do with what I have now. Does that make any sense? So um, I just have to be that. It's really important for me when we go to the shows. If we want, okay, so we're going to talk about the shows, and how people are. For me, I think versatility is huge. I think from low end to high end, whether if you sell any of it or not, it's for everybody that walks in the life of ball pythons, and they look at, man, that high dollar one's just like sick, I could really use that, and we all know most of those guys are the breeders, but then you got this sick old snake over here that's just as cool as this high dollar one that's 75 $100, and you get a newbie coming in and they're like, oh my god, that is the most beautiful, man, blah blah blah. I'm just as happy selling that $150 steak as I am selling that $4,000 steak, because I'm doing the same thing for everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just did the calculation for what our tables average up here. And depending on the show, depending on if it's 1 day or 2 days, it works out to about $125 a day. Like that's your average table price
which
for our
is
shows.
bad. I mean, if you think about
It's
it,
not bad.
it's not that
No,
bad. It's really not.
no, I don't think it's bad at
Especially
all,
if you
especially
look
with
at the size of the bow that it is, and by you, Melinda, are they big? Like, what are the average size of the shows by you that you're going to?
What are you asking? How many vendors?
Yeah, like what would you
Or
consider like are they like bigger shows, or are they like more
they're the
locally?
smaller shows, majority of them. I would say maybe 45 vendors, 50 vendors, if that.
It's nice.
And they're probably like 800 to, I don't know square footage, but basically like your lunchroom when you were in high school. That's kind of
Okay.
the range they're looking at. But there are higher end breeders in there, and there are people that's just starting out that's in there, and someone that's just selling rats, and some of them just selling hedgehogs, and just kind of a mixture of everything. But there are a lot of ball pythons that come in, and I feel like your setup where you have four tables, you might do better than someone that only has one table and only has like three displays. I feel that the more variety you have on your table, even if it's all ball pythons, the more you have on that table is the more for someone that comes by your table will find something that they want from your table. But when you have like one display or two or three displays, you maybe will sell an animal to cover your table. You may not. But my philosophy is if I don't get myself out there, I'm not going to make any money.
Right.
It comes down to you need to spend money to make money. And that's my philosophy. And I'd say the last 8 shows I've done, except for this last one, I fell on my face, but I'm still going to them. Even though the economy's not all that great, I basically bring it down to the way the economy is the reason we're having the difficulties that we're having. And things aren't picking up because the last show I sold 4 or 5 snakes, but the show before that I might have sold 1. The show before that I might have sold none. But it is picking up, but the thing is, I can't think down on myself just because I fell on my face that one show or those 2 shows.
Right.
But you got to keep on grinding to get things the way you want to get going.
And the more you're
And that's
there, the
my
more
philosophy.
people see you, the more people recognize you, the more people they're used to you being there. You're part of like you do these year after year. You almost don't even have to, after at a certain point. You don't have to have a massive table, but if you have a presence and people recognize you and they know you're there, you
Yeah.
see your animals and they see the progress and they see how beautiful, what you're doing with, and they start talking to you, strike up a conversation, you start talking to them,
Mm-hmm.
and you can open up this whole new relationship with this person, and you might similar too, and they might bring somebody over, and that's just starting and getting the ball, you things
Yeah.
like I've been doing this for like 25 years. When I had nothing, had nothing, I feel the best way to start out is to jump on someone else's table. Like if you have a friend and you can rent a small spot, can I get a corner? Can I throw a couple animals? Can I hang out with you all day? Can I, like, all of those things are things you're gonna work and learn, and
Mm-hmm.
and your mentors or friends or someone that's like, hey, you can come throw a couple animals on the table. That's cool, man. Like, or I'll help you get your own table. You want to get 2 tables? I'll get a table. You get a table. That's your spot. Like,
The
and
first
then you
I
you do that.
the first time I ever vended, I had a tub of rats. I had 5 deli cups. They were all double het for hypoclown or hypopide, all males. That's how I started. Not even a sign behind me, just a white tablecloth, and here you go. But now I
That and
have 3 display cases, and I have a big old sign. Well, my sign's broke down, so I'm not putting my sign up anymore. But I'm going. I'm overall and getting a new look. Same name, but a new look on my sign in the back, and my tablecloths are going to change, and I got to make that money to make that happen.
right,
My
and that's all growth. All growth. It's beautiful. It's growth.
my philosophy for that is, um, everything I've ever made, um, on anything, I've always put it back in. So if when I first started, so Doug from Bad is my mentor, and now it's kind of changed because we're like besties, But my first time ever going to a show, he gave me a table. I showed up with that's when I made like 60 banana hypo pies that were some were hypo, het hypo, and some were hypo. But I had 60 of them, banana pies, and I came into the first show, and honestly, that's how I got known. Everybody bought pies for me. Most of the breeders, I mean, I sold 30 snakes that show, um, and most of them went to the breeders, and I was just like floored, um, you know. But that's how I kind of got my going was because of Bad giving me a table, and showing up there. It was a horrible first day of showing up though. I ended up having them in deli cups, and I never knew to tape them down. and I had that deer netting over them, and a couple got out and got tangled into that netting, and we had to cut them out. I don't know if you remember that, Angel. That was way at the very beginning, 6 years ago, but 7 years ago. But I was so embarrassed, because oh my God, here's my first show. I have two snakes that got free. Here's one really tangled in there. I thought I was going to die, but it didn't. We ended up cutting it out. I just put it away, and it ended up being the mascot of Cue Ball Morphs, pretty much. But you know, if it wasn't for Doug being there, being my mentor, and giving me that table and kind of showing me the ropes of how to vend, I would have been lost. And I appreciate him putting his, arm around me and giving me that mentorship. But within that, I took that lesson, and all that money that I made off those snakes, I turned around and I invested it all into those acrylic displays, so my snakes would never get out of those deli cups again, you know. So every time that I do that, I do that. So if you ever come to my booth, every time you come to my booth, there's going to be something different. So like this time, this next show coming up in Hillsboro, I bought my logo with rugs. It's going all the way around the fronts for when people come walk on it. So I have rugs that go all the way around with my logo on each rug. Just to make, I think presentation is one of the major things when you're selling anything. We all know that. Marketing. You got to look good, your snake's got to be beautiful. It's just all about, marketing yourself. You're not going to make money right off the bat if you put it back in, but in the long run, it's like Angel says, you gain that momentum, people start knowing you, and the next thing you know, it's like you see the same people all the time. They're all coming up, and then you get all these newer people, so that's kind of how I play it. And on the downside of things, that I see in there, here's some downfalls I see in there are, I go around and I hear everybody bitching about, hey man, I didn't sell a damn thing. This sucks, or they're sitting in their chairs and they're sitting there like this with this shitty ass face. And who wants to come to a table that when you're sitting in there and you got this growl on your face and you're eye screwing somebody because they're over there and they got all these people around your table? It's because we all interact like you, all of you, I know the Irresistible Balls. I know Angel. You guys interact. We all interact with our people. And it's very, very important that we do that instead of sitting there like, irritated you're there. I don't get it. So I think that's one of the major downfalls that I see when I walk around the show, and I'm just like, don't be a hater, man. Just work at it. We just got to work at it.
That's the thing too. Like everybody has a style, right? And I think that's the best part about this. I think you can be over the top and you can have a massive collection. You can draw this attention. You can do all of that stuff and it works. And you can all have just a single table and a banner and so on. And that also works because everybody, this hobby, this industry is so big that you almost have people that like your grand stuff, the crazy stuff, and some people that like they want to just go talk to a person that just has a couple animals and they just want to, like, there's so many, and I like that, and I like that we're able to do that. But what does need to change are the people sitting there with their arms crossed, just like for you to approach them. And that's how it was when I started back in the 90s. It's horrible. I'm that old. You around the shows, nobody would say anything to you. They would just sit there, folding chair, just like sitting there, and they're literally just talking to the person next. This is before it was even on their phones. Now people are on their phones. It's even worse. But like, they'd be talking to the person next to them and not acknowledging the person that's just at the table, and you walk up and you look like, oh hi, oh these are really nice, and they're just like, man, like, they want to hear, are you going to buy it or not? Now, the opposite. I'm annoying to everybody who walks by because I want to about everything. I want you to come over and look
Yeah.
at my stuff. I want you to ask me questions about my stuff. I want to see what you bought. I want to see what you bought because I'm nosy. I want
Yeah.
to know,
Exactly.
and I
Yeah.
like to look at people's stuff, and I like to just talk to people. And that's the biggest difference that I've seen in the past 25 years, is people folding chairs, literally mad that they have to like talk to somebody, versus today, people, whether they have a booth or a small booth, everybody is engaging. Everybody's engaging. Everybody's engaging. You know,
Yep.
and it's okay to have a bunch of people and you're talking, and so on. Like, and that sometimes happens. Like you've seen sometimes at our booth, we'll have a bunch of booth and we're all bullshitting, but we should be paying attention to the outside, and it happens. You just get bombarded sometimes, and it's fun. But that that to me is also part of like this whole thing about talking to people, and even getting that person that's on the other side, getting them involved in whatever you're joking about. Who cares? Like, I'm here to have fun. Yeah, we're gonna sell a
Right.
bunch of snakes. Yeah, we're gonna talk a bunch of shit, and that's great. But I think ultimately the difference that I see from back then to now, how vendors are at shows, how vendors treat people at shows, how vendors
Right.
are at shows, it's way different. It's so different. It's so much better. It's so much.
It's true. I feel bad when I sit down for 1 second. Like, oh no, I just sat down to eat my sandwich. Get back up. That's another thing. Packing snacks. That's very important.
Yes.
Or you'll end up
Bathroom
eating
breaks.
pizza and French fries.
Right. And it's like, oh, there's a lot of times we just bring our own sandwich stuff and stuff like that because you just get tired of the same pizza, hamburgers, fry. You know what I
Listen,
mean?
all I'm gonna
Like,
say is the last show that I went to, somehow I ended up with a very delicious buffet, and I have no idea. I just looked down and there it was, and it was beautiful, homemade, wonderful parfait. I
I
mean,
know, it's so good.
who
Kurt's
doesn't
mom
like
spoiled
parfait?
us last show. Like she had us, we had sandwiches, parfaits.
It was
oh, that's
wonderful.
awesome.
It was amazing. Because the show before, or I guess it was January Puyallup. I guess, yeah, it was the show before. I got a terrible migraine because I didn't eat enough the day before and didn't drink enough water. So I just spent the whole Sunday of that show all
Yeah.
morning sitting on the ground.
That was the show where everybody came up and they
It
were
was
all
terrible.
sick. Everybody
Yeah,
was sick that show.
it was.
Oh,
Brutal.
I want to say that was the show. I was ill the first day, and I was just sitting there, and like you said, I hate sitting there, and I
Uh
was just
huh.
like, I should have stayed at the hotel,
Hmm.
And my wife was like, man, you could stay. I got this. But I showed up, but I mean, I wasn't no help at all. And then we talk about the negative because me being sick, I felt like I brought the negative down on me and
Hmm.
everything around there. We did terrible that day, but the next day I came back and I was my normal self, felt great, and we did okay. So it's like I also think that it's all in our attitudes, and that's why for myself even I'm like me sitting in that chair, I wasn't engaging. Well, I didn't want to get anybody sick. I didn't. I was in my own little world, and I had all these other people that could do it for me, but they're not me or my wife. You know what I mean? Everybody's different on how they talk to people and how they interact, and some people just don't have it as well as other people. But at the same time, I don't take that away from the people who don't completely have it yet because they're learning to get it. So that's all I can ask for. So that it is what it is.
Yeah.
So
I
and
think one of the things too, like if you find you're struggling, whether you've done 2 years or something, like if you feel like you have a hard time, because not everybody can approach people, or be a vendor and be outgoing. Like I feel like I'm super like introverted, but then I get to the show and like there's another person that jumps out of me, and then like I pack him back up at the end of the show because I don't want to hang out with that guy. He's very loud, obnoxious. But at the show, he's just like, he's fuck, I don't know who this guy is. I don't know. He's like a ringmaster. I don't know. He comes out and like but I'm having time. Like that guy's great, and we all have fun. Like
You're definitely an outgoing, reserved guy. You know what I mean? You got both aspects because you're so mellow and calm, bro. You're just like, I mean, me, I'm hyper. I'm not. I'm hyper, and you just got that nice, mellow, smooth. Let's
I
just
don't
go with
know.
it.
I just
Yeah, you kind of have to turn into a carnival barker.
I do have a question for everybody since we're talking about this. I'm very reserved and kind of I go with the flow. And my thing is, what are your first 3 to 5 questions when someone comes up to you?
How you doing? Are you enjoying the show? You know, if they say, "Oh, I just walked in," I say, "Well, man, you got so much cool stuff to see." And another thing I do is I'm like, if I'm in the front and they come to my table, I'm like, "Listen, go around to see the whole show. I'm not a pusher. Go check out and see what everybody has. If you come back and there's something you really want, I'm thankful for it. But please go look at all the other show. I want you to be happy with what you buy." That's what I do every time. I promise, as God looks down.
Then you got to say, did you buy anything? What are you
Yep.
looking for? Are you looking for a
Yep.
pied? Go over to Angel Caro.
Yeah.
See, I'm never going to get it right, Angel. I'm just going to call you Angel.
I'm fairly good at reading people as
Yeah.
they're walking through. So my first questions, if you can tell, even if they're remotely interested, are: do you have reptiles? What
Yeah.
projects are you working? What are you looking for specifically?
Are you looking for a pet? Are you looking to breed?
Yeah. And then those are my main questions. And with that, I usually have them funneled to where they need to go. Yeah. Because I will do a sweep in the morning on Saturday morning and check out what everybody has.
Right.
Yeah. And I've sent people over to Wayne. I've sent people to Dylan, and just pretty much almost everybody, because everybody at up where we has a little bit something different.
Yep.
Yeah, we
It's
don't all
true.
carry the same stuff, and even when we do, we were right next to each other. Both had pretty much like a lot of the same shit, and we were still selling things. And we were bringing people because people wanted something a little bigger, and I was like, oh, they got dab over here, and then they were like, oh, you're looking for babies? Oh, he's got babies over here, and it was just like,
Yeah.
it worked though. Like,
It does work. And that's what I do love about the hobby. Most of us, do like send them to other people and be like, yeah, they got this, they got that. Everybody's for the most part really there for each other. You do have that handful that, as anything that, will ruin it for everybody or try to. But man, that 10-15% compared to everything else, it doesn't matter. Our hobby's strong, and our net as networking and our friendship as vendors and breeders is phenomenal. So I would, that's what I love it so much. Honestly, I mean, the people, I do it to be there and hang out with the people because I love. It's like a vacation for me. That 2 days is like a vacation. The one day was pain. The 2 days, it's like.
the 2 days is fun. It's a lot of fun. And it's fun talking to the people. So
Yes.
so Melinda, what's your thing? Like, how do you get? What's your engagement? Like, what's your first thing?
Well,
Or
pretty
when
much
you
the
see
same thing.
people?
You guys are basically, are you looking for a new pet or a new project, or are you breeding? Are you not breeding? And what are you looking for? Stuff like that. And I just want to make sure that my approach is on key. And a lot of people, like the last show that I did, I was out in the hallway. I think I was the only ball python breeder in the hallway. I did better at that show than I thought I would ever do in a hallway.
Nice.
Like the hallway was before they went into the show. And a lot of people say, well, we haven't seen the inside of the show. will come back around, and a lot of the other people that I've talked to says, well, if they say they're going to come back around, they won't come back around. So I'm just kind of like, I'm not trying to be pushy about it, but I did have this one family that came. Their son would even leave my table because he got the snake in his hand and he begged his mom. So I took $25 off of the snake because his mom said they were looking at 100, 150. I really wanted 175, so I sold them to him for 150. Just make sure that kid was happy, and his mom was happy that she didn't go over her budget.
See,
So
that's the thing about shows. You can't do that shit online. Like
No.
that's
Yeah,
not gonna happen.
that's what I was
You know,
just gonna say.
Yep.
and I,
shows
like
allow
I said in the hallway, I didn't think I was going to do that good. But my husband was with me. A lot of times, majority of the time, say 95% of the time, I'm there by myself. So I have no other person with me. And my husband is actually in sales, and he has the sell mindset that I don't have. And I try to read off of him, but he knows nothing about, he knows what a pied is. He knows what a pastel is. Other than that, you ask him, he has no idea. None. So I'm only one person. If one person pulling me this way, he's pulling me this way. I'm just trying to stay focused and take care of as much as I can. But I did have
Yep.
one lady, she came by, she looked and came by like 45 minutes later, picked up got a snake. I didn't think she was going to buy anything. And my husband talked to her briefly, and she came back. I was the only one at the table, and she ended up picking the one up on the corner that was probably one of my cheapest snakes on the table. That was $40. I'm happy with that $40. I'm happy with that 150. Trust me, the business could do better in the higher dollar stuff, but that comes with time.
yeah.
Yeah. And there's definitely an advantage to going to the shows, as exhausting as it can be for us introverted people that put ourselves out there for a weekend. It's like a party. I look forward to it every time we get to go, and I'm sad when they're over. But you definitely get a whole different side that you don't get when you're online.
Yeah.
Getting that
Yeah.
The only
face to
thing I
face.
dread is packing up the animals and putting it in the
Yeah.
animal's back.
Yeah.
That's the only thing I dread.
I was going to piggyback off of Nikki, and a lot of the people that we talk to have the same social anxieties and noise triggers and people triggers that the rest of us have. So if you're ever feeling anxious and whatever on the the selling side of the table, just remember, a lot of the people that are there to buy have the same issues.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
I'll tell you though, like the that's that thing that you, with time, the more you do, you start getting better at it. And for me, I didn't really talk to a lot of people at first, and then obviously so on and so forth. Then you see me now, and I'm crazy. But there's like a whole point, to it, because for me, when you're at a show, like if you've ever been to my table, like I'll tell you out. Like if you, like some people they'll be very like timid, and I'm like, yeah, ask whatever you want, yeah, and I'll keep talking and or whatever. Then they'll ask prices and stuff, and I tell people I encourage haggling. Like I encourage, like I
Right.
like haggling. I'm a haggler. Haggle with me. Like you want a better price. If you give me a good haggle, I'll give you a better price. You give me a shitty haggle, you're not getting shit. So I just like it. I like the haggle. That's why I like shows. I can't really haggle online, especially with people will message you like just a number or a zip code, and I'm like, I don't know what you want. Like, like a good in-person haggle at a show is great because I see how much you really want the animal. Like,
Right.
listen, it took me 4 years to 5 years to produce this animal. Like, and you want a better price? Great. Show me how much you want this animal. Show me how much you want me to drop this price, and I will do it. You guys will see me. I do this shit all the time. But I like the haggle part. I like, because again, people that really do haggle, like they want this shit. They want that animal, so they're gonna want to haggle. It's like It's like my little personal little auction, and it's
I think
fun.
Yeah,
Another
people
great-
come up to people
Oh, sorry.
come
Go
up
ahead,
to
Melinda.
me. People come up to me. What's your lowest price? I said, basically, I tell them I'm not going to give you my lowest price. You throw a number at me, I might throw another number at you, and go from there.
Well,
And who
So
knows? I might like your number, and I'll go for it.
the last show I had these people come up. So they were really interested in one of my Mandarin pies, and they were interested in this visual female puzzle that I had up. And
Me
I
too.
mean, that was a chunk of money. Right there. And anyway, they kept coming back, and they kept coming back, and they kept talking to me. And they were VIPs, and they had the VIP deal right there. And they just kept coming back, and I didn't push them, I didn't do any of that. And they came up, and they were like you said, what's the lowest you'd go? I was like, that is the lowest that I'd go. That's what it says on that. I says, so when you're asking me that question, this is what I said to him. So when you're asking me that question, that is the lowest price that I would go on that paper. Now, if you're willing to give me an offer, that's a whole nother deal. And that's what I tell them. I was like, because that's why I have it on that price right there. But if you're willing, hey man, I want both of those animals right there. Will you take this for it? And they were new breeders, just right getting into it. And I'm like, man, here's these guys looking at the best stuff at my table. You know what I mean? And I'm just like, what's the offer? And they gave me a fair offer, and I took it. And and not just that, I got some high-end animals out there in some newbies' hands. So
And
it was
like you said, there was a fair. It was fair.
yes,
There's fair, and there's an insult. Like,
yes,
I
how do you?
basically asked for a reasonable
No.
offer.
Yeah.
yeah. That's all you can ask for, and whatever was fair for me, might not have been fair for you, or them. But when you have 10 Mandarin pies that are past that clown, and you have 10 visual powerhouse puzzles sitting there, and you don't really need any of them because you got
Mike,
other
shoot me a
stuff like
message.
right.
What was that again?
I'll take care of you. I'll take care.
Mike commented that he needs Angel to put on a haggle class so he can learn how to haggle.
Right.
Yeah. That's when the Brooklyn comes out. You really hear that
My
New York
biggest
accent.
is honestly just feel it out. Know how low you would go. Know you feel is too low, and also like feel this person out too.
Right.
And like how do you feel about having animal sold to this person at whatever price you're going to agree on? Like if there's they walk away and you're like, oh man, that sucked. Or is there a price you're like, I feel good. So it's a lot, but the more you do it, the easier. I just like doing it because it's, and I don't know, I just like messing with people, but like in a good way, because I like getting people engaged too. Because people will be like, oh, well, how low? And I'm like, well, give me a number. They're like, oh, I'm like, hey, let's go. Come on, let's get the train rolling. Like, I think it's fun, and the more, I think the more that person haggles too, maybe they'll go to another table and they'll try it there and fun. Like, I'm not trying to get people to haggle everything down, but I feel like fun kind of a haggly vibe is much better than some cool dry, I'll give you 300 for that. Like, or how low? What's the cheapest? What's the cheapest you got? Like versus, hey, so can we talk? Like, I love that. I love when people come up to me and they're like, yo, can we talk about this? I'm like, yes, we can. Let's talk about this. I love that. So if you want an animal off my table, if you come up, just say, can we talk about this? I'll know exactly what you're talking about.
Our strategy is different. So we do like 25% off. So we have the retail price on the snakes on the table, and then for VIPs, right, we'll do the 25% off. But that also works out to be our low number.
Right.
And Yeah, we just adjust that way. So when people come up and they look at it and they're going, man, I don't know, that's awfully expensive. We'll go, we will take 25% off of that snake, and then that total will be this.
So I was doing that just like what you're saying, and I lost a lot of sales, and I want to tell you why. Because when they're first looking down, and even though you tell them that, when they're first looking down at that price tag, and this is how I know it changed for me. Once they saw that price tag, and they're like not thinking about, oh, they already have that 25 or 50% off right there. So they're looking at that price tag thinking that the VIP is already there. So what I did is I changed mine up. So I started putting the VIP price on the tag. Now, the lowest that I would go. That's just put it that way. Okay, the lowest that I would take. When people come to the table and then they look at that and they're like, see that price, they still don't see that 25% off thing up there, but they see that price and they're like, oh my God, oh my God. So I changed it that way. The only downfall to that is this. My VIP ends up running all day. I'm not going to lie, so I don't change it. I just leave it VIP. That's the lowest I'll take for that snake. And if that's what it sells for, I'm happy as can be. I don't care. And if, like I said, if somebody comes up to me like a VIP, like those people that came up to me and I already had my lowest price on those high-end snakes, and they're like, hey, man, would you take this? Yeah, I'll take that. I'll take that. So it's not like they can't get a better deal. Like Angel says, finagle with me, finagle with me. And most people do. But, that's kind of how I changed it, because I was losing a lot. Like I said, I lost a lot of sales. And once I changed that, the next show, man, I sold 15 snakes right off the bat. So I was like, holy shit. So that is my own personal thing. I don't know, that's just what I dealt with and that I saw the change on. So the last two shows that I done that, things went great. Much more sales than I had previously when I had to talk to them like, oh, no, you're 25% to that number, and maybe some people can add or they don't know how to use a calculator. Right. I don't know, but at the same time, it's like, I ain't got time for that. I don't know, but it's changed for me on the sales, honestly.
Okay. I'll have to try that next show. Hillsboro. Yeah. Yes. I'll try that. See if it works better.
Angel, yeah. Morphforge has a comment for you in the chat, and they would like you to message them. Okay. They have some snakes of yours they're interested in.
Hey, look at that.
So message them later,
no
please.
I will, absolutely. I don't know. I did VIP. I did a couple of them, and I did the last one that I did. I walked away not feeling great about, and I feel like, again, for me, like, I like the hat talk, the whole vibe of it, and when I have this VIP thing, and people come up and they're automatically getting this much off, and there's no connection. I was getting people getting stuff. Oh, it's 25% off, or it's buy one get one 40%, whatever it was. I had going on. And I saw a lot of amazing animals going for really good prices to people that were just buying them for really good prices versus and I'm not, they weren't bad sales at all, because there were a bunch of those sales that I'm in touch with sales, a lot of those, because they got a lot of really nice animals and I want to know how they're going to end up. But, there were some people that just got amazing deals and just walked away. And I was like, it's cool. I'm glad you got an amazing deal, but I feel like I lost, like I didn't get, I don't know. I like having a little something with somebody that's buying an animal that took me ever to produce, or something like that, or an animal that's just, even if it's been in my care for a year, I've been in my care for a year. Like, I've been taking care of this animal, like, so when I have something that's just this price right off the bat through the door, and you get that, I think it works for some people. I think it's part of, it's a selling tag. It's part of business, that's what works for some people, and it works for me. It's just, no, I don't want to really do it so much anymore. I just like encouraging people, just talk and haggle, because you'll probably get that you might even get more than 25% off. You know,
Right.
if you haggle with me, because that's the thing too. You know, again, that's why I like shows so much. I get to talk to people.
Yeah.
You know, I get to
I
hang
mean,
out with people. I get to meet new people. I get to see all those kids come in with all the question. They love these animals. These every time I see a new kid, or I'll see a kid that bought a snake from me 2 years ago. Now they're there with their parents, and now they're like they were this big. Now they're this big, and I didn't recognize them because last time they were like this big, and they're standing there staring at me like I'm supposed to remember them. You know, I see their parent, and I'm like, oh yeah, now, oh my god, like hey, how's it going? And then they tell me the snake is doing great, and I love that's the shit that's, you know, online sales are wonderful, uh, but like it's about shows, and I think that's because I worked in a pet shop for so many years. I was faced with people doing it every single day for so many years, and that's what the started me. It brings me right back to the best job I've ever had, hands down, was working at that pet shop.
I
And
do have a question.
you know,
What is the percentage online sales versus your show sales? I know you said you only did 8 shows. How does that
so
equalize?
I'm gonna be straight honest about so online sales. I sell more snakes at vending and by word of mouth. I hardly do. If you go on my morph market, I hardly list anything. Um, it's and I pay $850 for the premium or the big one, and I don't really hardly use it. I'm being honest. I just built a website and I do stuff on my website, but I pretty much website or most of it's just vending, honestly. Uh, you know, I do good enough most of the time vending that I've really not had to use morph market. But this year's a little different because I had so many babies. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
most of the time I've done 25 to 30, 35 clutches. This year I had 100.
The
So,
reason I ask is because I've been on Morph Market for 3 years. And out of that 3 years, I have sold 8 animals off of Morph Market.
well, so like my mentors, they do a lot of online sales, and you know what it is? It's like he told me. He says now that you have all the inventory that you have, he says the more snakes you put on Morph Market, are the more people are going to see it because you have so much on there. That's how you sell. You got to have a lot of stuff on Morph Market, maybe 100, 150 snakes, and that's what my mentor tells me all the time. He says once you put those on there, he says your online sales are going to change drastically. He says because you're going to have so much on there that people can see, and they'll get stuck on it, and they'll go through it, and they'll go through it, and then they will find eventually something that they want. And he's right. So that's kind of where I'm going to change it this year. I'm really going to use Morph Market to my advantage, on top of my website, and like I said, the shows is my main money maker, for all my stuff, at this point. So if we're going to say what do I have for sales for that, I'm going to say 95%.
And with that, keeping your stuff on Morph Market up to date.
Yes.
Kind
It's a lot,
right?
yeah, it's a lot of work, but it is worth it.
It is worth it.
Nikki and I are probably 50-50.
Yeah.
Right now, we've actually had a lot of success selling on Morph Market.
Yeah, I hear there is. I've just not really utilized it, until
But you
now.
also need to advertise, like Instagram. Go on Instagram, post what's on your Morph Market. Angel does a really good job of doing that.
Yeah, that's where social media comes in.
Yeah.
Is when you refresh your page and you add stuff. And somebody that I think probably does it the best is Will Banks. Like if you're signed
Right.
up for Will Banks's stuff, he sends you an email. Hey, we just put 50 things on our website, and it's also on Morph Market. And
As much as we'd rather you buy things from all of us here.
right, it's just a really good
He does a
example
really
of how
good
to do
job
it
of it.
correctly.
yeah,
Right.
I gotta say this.
Like I just updated all of my weights last night, and I got one inquiry. Yeah, only one. So who knows? I got a message as this was starting. I'll have to look at what he said. So
I think Morph Market is just funny. Like I just think it's funny. I think people are on market looking for the thing that every like it's that kind of, you know, ebb and flowing, you know. Right now, let's just say Red Stripe. Oh shit, someone mentioned Red Stripe. Hey, a ton of run and look at Red Stripe shit right now. You know, someone mentions, you know, Orange Go. Look at so. I think sometimes it's what's popular. Maybe you have what's popular. Maybe you, I usually don't, but it's okay. A lot of my animals do sell more at the show than on Morph Market. I did my first auction a couple weeks ago. I think it went okay. I actually got more than I thought I was gonna get for the animal. The person was really nice, and it went super smooth. And you know, I'll do another one, but I think again it really depends on the person, their collection, the amount of animals they have. You know, if I could, I would love to do more shows more often if closer. Like if I had a 1 day show once a month out here, I would be more than happy to, you know, and then every now and then a 2 day show. But we don't really have it out here like that. You know, I'm really
No.
grateful for the shows that we do have.
Mhm.
The Pac Northwest show, that's a big ass show. It's a
Yeah.
big show. We really, I do well there. I've been doing that freaking show since 2012. Like, and 2012, I moved out here. I had nothing. I did the tape. I had a bowl with 4 fucking deli cups. That was me. I was that guy. I had nothing. I had no cards. I had no website. I had no Instagram. I didn't have shit. I had 4 deli cups and a folding table. That was it. That was 2012. You know, and I had like 2 yellow bellies and a bumblebee or something. I don't know. I didn't have anything. I had nothing.
That's a lot
You
12 years ago, dude. Those were popping back
Yeah,
then, though.
hell yeah, and that's the thing. Like you just, but don't, I didn't have a tablecloth. I had to get a tablecloth. I had to get, cards or something. Now everybody wants stickers. So you got to get stickers. So you kind of move on through it. But I love doing shows. I've been doing shows for long. I love doing shows,
There
and
is one thing that I want to ask before we start wrapping this up, and that's come up recently, um, and it's people that bring their outside pets into
Yes.
shows. So
thank
I
you.
know, like Wayne, particularly with the amount of animals you bring, the quarantine process on intake back in your collection, even if you have a separate quarantine room, that's got to be very time consuming. And I
Yes.
feel like that would be significantly decreased if we just, when I say we, I mean reptile shows as a whole, told everybody, please leave your pets at home, don't bring them into the shows, there's too
Across the
many
board.
risks.
Across the
My
board.
thing is, if
So,
they bring one in, shouldn't they say something when they buy that ticket? When they come in, before they come into the show. They
Like
say
at the
right on
door,
their
they should
website
stop
not to
them.
bring their own animals
so,
from home.
so
My
with
husband at this last show, my husband got complacent with our animals because our rats are in the same room as our ball pythons. I can sit there and clean my rats and come in here and pick up one of my ball pythons. My husband was messing with the rats, selling the rats, and this customer came up. He was petting underneath the chin, got him.
so my take on that is yes, it pisses me fucking off. Um,
Hmm.
so at the last show, I'll give you for instance. I can't name certain people. I can't do certain things, but they're walking around with this fucking was it a retic? I think it was a retic or some shit. And and I come to my table. I just went to the bathroom. I come back, and they're inside my booth, and I'm like, I look at my wife. I'm like, what the fuck? I didn't say it out loud. I'm like, what the fuck? And I said, why is somebody back here in my fucking booth with a damn snake around their neck? You know, don't get me wrong. You know, I don't think everybody around has mice, but I can tell you that I've walked around the show and I keep shit to myself. You know, I know certain people have mice. I don't give a fuck what anybody says. I know it for a fact. If those people come by my table or anything like that, like I said, I asked them to step back a little bit. I was like, I'm like, oh, my displays are clean. Please, can you just look from afar? It's hard to do that when you got a bunch of fucking people in there. But I do not want anybody around my booth that has snakes or anything else like that. Because regardless if anybody comes in with any kind of reptile or not, I go home and, like you said, I fucking mite my shit. I do all that shit before they ever go back into in their bins. And that shit takes me over a day. And that's what I talk about, why I couldn't do a 1-day show. Because when you got that much there, and you got to go home and you fucking got to mite every single fucking snake just so you know that you ain't gonna put it back in your fucking shit. It's a job, and it takes a day away from, hey man, maybe I was supposed to feed that day. So I have to skip feeding because I got to make sure those animals get what they need to go back in their bins, and then
That's what I do
yeah.
too.
So yeah, I don't want anybody coming in with fucking animals. And don't get me wrong, I'm glad you have the animals. I'm thankful that you're into the hobby and that you love the snakes. But you're coming to us to look at our animals, not for us to come look at yours. And I'm not trying to be two-faced or hypocritical on that. I just think it's for safety for all of us involved in there. That's just where I see it. And
For like everybody, because that person's animal might be completely healthy. Decided to bring it to the show, and somebody with an animal that was not completely
that's what I'm
healthy
saying.
brought theirs to the show,
For us
and
to,
now they're
yep.
walking past each other in the aisle. Now they're at the same booth looking, and that snake and it like boom. And I'm not even just talking about, like mites. There's respiratory
Right.
bullshit that gets passed around,
Right.
as well as
Get
a
those,
lot of
right
other
on, who
that
fucking knows?
we know are out there. I flipped out on a guy, and I apologize afterward, but I heavily explained why, because he was at the booth talker, and he bought a baby green tree from another person, and Tucker was just, like giving him some tips. You know how Tucker is. They were just
Yeah.
having a chat, but the guy puts his cup right on top of one of my cups, and I exploded on the dude. And he was like, and I was like, yo, don't know. I was like, don't you? And I pulled the cup right. I did a whole fucking thing because he bought that shit. Triple L. I don't care. I don't give a shit about them. Throw them under the bus all you want. Don't buy shit from Triple L. All of their shit is covered in mites. All of their shit is sick. All of their shit are imports. I don't really care what anybody says. To hell with them. They're terrible. I'm gonna tell you why they're terrible, because I bought something from them a time ago and it was messed up. And a lot of people have. And I don't understand in business, but whatever. But I flipped out on the dude because I said, number one, don't ever do that. Don't go to a show, take something off of somebody's table and put it on somebody else's table. That's not good. Please don't do that. Number two, don't buy anything from Triple L. Or, like, it's just that, like, it's that show etiquette. And obviously, unless you've done this a long time, somebody walking in, a customer from the street, they don't know this stuff. They don't realize it. They don't know. They really don't know.
They don't.
So, and I apologize. I was like, look, I'm sorry for getting loud, but I do move it right away. I wasn't going to be gentle about it. So that's something I think that us as vendors, as we meet people that are new and we're realizing that they're new, we also let them know, hey, it's a good idea. Don't walk up to somebody's table and put your bag on their table. It's a good idea. Don't walk up to somebody's table and just start like to put your cup down, like or lean on. I had a dude sitting like leaning on my table, and I'm like, what are you doing? Don't lean on like these are folding tables. Like we have
Right.
really nice, but they are just cheap folding tables, and if you do on them, they're gonna it's gonna fall. So there's a lot about that too. What I have noticed though, a huge achievement, our kids. I'm not getting a lot of kids tapping and smacking. Parents have been really good about like keeping their kids. I've had some close calls in the past, but recently I've noticed a huge difference of people watching their kids, which is great. I'm really thankful for it. I'm really for it.
I don't see it.
Yeah, I mean, Maybe you don't.
I don't
I'm just
get.
noticing, like for me, I'm
It's the
getting a
one
lot
thing
of
that drives
parents
me.
really
It
watching their
drives me
kids.
fucking nuts, dude. I'll see somebody take it. They'll go like this and start doing this, and the next thing you know, you start seeing these swirl scratches. And I'm like, and I just want to flip the fuck out, man. I'm thinking, man, that's $1,000 display. You're fucking sitting there scratching right now, and I'm sitting there thinking, and thank God I got the shit at home, but it's time, to fucking rub that shit out. It's time. And I'm just sitting there, bro. I can put fucking signs up there. Please do not touch displays on every single one, and they're all fucking blinded. It's like right in front of their face, but they don't see it. And I'm just
See,
like,
but that's the thing at the
oh,
show. That's the thing at the show. How many people have come over to the booth? They just like this, just looking, and then you start talking, and they look. Oh, don't even, like because they're so busy going from booth to booth to booth, and then they look up. I've got like the high boxes and all that stuff, and they're like, oh, they have high box. Like, yeah, I'm there the whole time. And but it's
Yeah, I
it's just
gotta.
that thing.
Oh, I gotta say, the last show we were at, which was Puyallup, there was one parent, and her kids were overly grabby, and man, she chewed their butts right in front of our table. So it was almost to the point where I was like, man, those kids got. I mean, it was. I can't describe it, but it was as soon as she raised her voice, it was boom. Those kids, their eyes changed, their mannerisms changed, and I imagine that's how it is in your shows, Melinda, being in geographically different area. Imagine that's the same too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just,
Yeah, a lot of people, their kids come over and say, "Can I hold a snake?" I said, "Well, I generally don't let anybody hold my snakes unless they're looking at a snake to buy."
Yeah.
And I might have one animal that, towards the end of the show, I will like pretty much let the kids hold. But the beginning of the show, I'm just like a little. No, not really. It's a biosecurity thing, and I flat out and tell them that.
See, that's why
And
it's
I,
it's almost like a double-edged sword, because you want them to experience this.
yeah,
You want to share your experience, but you don't want to share somebody else's parasites.
Yes.
So,
yeah,
some people have this ambassador animal, and I even feel like sometimes that's a risk just to have one animal. You know,
yep.
yeah,
so I often tell people there are people around here they have animals out and hold definitely. Give like I don't sometimes I know who it is, but and I think that that's good, and maybe for expos, maybe we should more of that in our petting area. Maybe we should have more reptiles to hold in that like animal area versus like and I don't know, it's just something that popped into my head because like Jeff does the petting thing and he's got
It
like the
is.
little kangaroo and stuff like that. But maybe if you have more reptile stuff in there, that would bring some traffic to us because you might be like, hey, they can ball python right over there. You can go get a leopard gecko right over there. Go check out Game of More. That's amazing. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, these are things that could help, really help us. Also, we could be like, oh, if you want to hang out with ball python, you want to try, they have them right over there. You can go, and your kid can go and handle them. And like, that might work hand in hand. I don't know. Spitballing. Jeff,
yeah.
if you're watching this, I don't know. I don't know if you watch this. But
Because when I first started going to the shows, it seems like every time I went to the show, I struggled with mites right after it, and then I'd have to cancel shows because I was still doing treatment.
mhm.
And it's just very like a lot of my show stuff is upstairs. It's in a separate room. It's basically my quarantine room, and like some of this collection is mine and some of it isn't. But it's been here for 4 months, so I'm slowly bringing it down here to the main collection.
But let's be honest too. Like, if we're moving these animals around and we're treating them, like, how good is this treatment shit over and over again? Like I don't want to keep using chemicals and this and like I hate doing it. I know that it's a necessary evil, but when it comes down to it, I just don't want to do it. I hate using chemicals, with animals if I can avoid it. But we also would like not to bring home parasites too. So
Yeah, this day and
Yep.
age, you have to do it.
It's just terrible. Yeah. It's You don't, especially for somebody like me, the last thing I want to do is have a mite infestation on 800 damn snakes. Man,
Yeah.
you know how long it'd take to get rid of that? I mean,
You'd have to shut
oh,
down for 4 to
I
6
would have
months
to
to make
try.
sure that shit is
Yeah.
gone.
PTSD, man, right here.
It was
Yeah,
That's the
Yeah.
one thing that gives
that's
me
ridiculous,
PTSD
dude.
is those damn mites.
But that's what I
Yeah.
mean with LLL. I brought a snake home. That shit had mites. I had a shit. This was I was before I was out here. This is probably like 2010. So this is like, I was still in New York at the time. And I brought home, and I was just looking at it in the tub. I just happened to look, and I saw the mite walk right across the ridge of the back. And I was like, oh, because I swore I looked, no matter how hard you look, if there are mites, there are mites. No matter how hard you look, whether you see them or not. And that me down. I couldn't go to the next show. I couldn't do any, shut it all down. I had to shut it all down. And this was before I was going to be moving out here. I was moving out to Washington. And I was like, shit, man, like, I have less than a year. I got to move these animals. So now I can't even move these animals until I'm comfortable and I know for sure that these guys don't have mites. And everything worked out fine. But I sold a bunch of animals before I left, and I shipped a bunch of animals out here. Obviously, I'm not shipping any animals out here with mites either. All of that had to get cleared up beforehand. So that's why I have such disdain for Triple L. But I also for also just this biosecurity at shows, like, really, we gotta, like, if you know you have mites or something going on, please don't go to the please. And promoters, if someone calls and they say, hey, I can't show because my animals have mites, give them a fucking pass. Give them a pass. Don't charge them for the table or say, oh, okay, thanks for not coming, thanks for letting me know, sick day. I don't know what you want to call it, but I don't think a responsible vendor who now realizes that they have a problem in their collection and they can't do the show. And they say, I don't think they should have to pay for the damn booth. I don't think they should be penalized if they're being responsible. Now, if this shit happens all the time, okay, that's
Well,
a
you're
different.
already penalized because you have mites, man. Why be fucking
Yeah, you're
penalized twice?
penalizing that. Yeah, and you're penalized because you can't even go to the show and move your animals or network
Yeah.
or see people. Like, so I don't think you should be or told like, oh well, okay, your list, I gotta fill it with somebody else, and I'll put you on a backup list, because that happens at other shows that are just like really full and so on. You know, repeat offenders, okay, that's above my pay grade. I'm not talking about that. But if you if you just happen to be like, man, I can't do this show because I got mites, pass, man. It's okay. Don't worry. And you shouldn't be you shouldn't get this like negative blacklist thing and like, oh, they got mites. Everybody has fucking mites at one point or another. Like, don't want that. Like, you'll get rid of them. You'll be fine. You'll get rid of them. Don't worry about it. Just be mindful. Now we just need to be mindful. That's it. It happens. You learn your lesson, and you might learn it a couple more times because shit happens. You could order and that gets fucking mites in transit even. Like, you never know.
Yeah.
You never know. They could be that box could be sitting next to another box, and that other box clean.
It's true. Well, it is about that time to wrap it up, but I have to say this has been a wonderful Saturday. It's been great having Melinda and Wayne on with us,
Thank you.
Angel.
Thank you.
And if you're in the chat or watching this and you have something you want us to talk about in the future, send us a message.
Yeah, or if
We
you
like
want,
to know
like,
what the people
show
want to see.
part 2, get some
Yeah.
feedback on this, because I
Yeah.
think the more people in general, vendor and the public alike, I think it's good to talk about how we do these shows, because I also want to know what I haven't been on the other side of the table in a long time. What are people to the door?
Yeah.
What do you want? What do you need? What are you not
Right,
getting at a
exactly.
show? Shoot
Right.
me a message telling me like, hey, could you do this? Do you think this could happen? There's a little bit of too much of that going on. Can we have this? I don't know. Just
Mm-hmm.
what are people for?
Absolutely.
I know that I'm not real good. I don't do a whole lot of podcasts. I've done, maybe 4 or 5, but in the chats or the comments, I never seem to know how to see them or even respond to them. So, I mean, if anybody else out there has any comments or questions, they can always hit me up. on Instagram and Facebook or wherever.
Yeah, I try to get on podcasts uh, as long as it works for my schedule and everything. Yeah, I try to get on as much as I can, and that's the reason I reached out to Nikki. I just thought I could share my input when it comes to the shows because I do a lot of shows. And the thing is, you got to get yourself out there.
It's true.
You have to. You have to. That's how people are going to see you. Shows are the best.
They are.
With all that being said, if you aren't following Cue Ball Morphs or Cuddle Time Critters on Instagram, you need to head over there right now and follow them.
Thank you.
That's my plug. And if you have sheds that you need tested, got to check out our sponsor, shedtesting.com.
I got 3
All right.
dogs, Charlie. You should have them, but I haven't heard anything yet. So.
You'll hear something soon. I'm sure he is a busy man, but he always has time. He's always getting those sheds tested. All right, I'm going to play our outro. It's been a wonderful Saturday. Thank you, Wayne and Melinda, for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely.
See everybody next time.
Okay.
On the other side, here we go.
Through the ups and downs, we stay strong. In your circle, that's where we belong. Lifting each other all day long. In this family, we can't go wrong. In your circle, we